Ilhan Omar was blasted for this stunt. Take a look.
My Republican colleagues will tell you that they are just going after waste, fraud, and abuse, but let's be clear. This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid and SNAP.
During a House hearing, Ilhan kept spinning the budget cuts as a plan that benefits the rich, until Brandon Gill stepped in and reminded her about her own party's hypocrisy on DOGE.
Our own federal government is using taxpayer dollars to promote ideologies that tens of millions of Americans find utterly repulsive.
That's why today we're covering it all, because we're not here to follow parties blindly, we're here for common sense. So, if you're an independent thinker, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. My Republican colleagues will tell you that they are just going after waste, fraud, and abuse, but let's be clear. The only way to slash this much safety net spending is by making it harder for people to survive. Their changes will kick millions of Americans off their healthcare and nutrition assistance. That means more untreated illnesses, more hungry children, more preventable deaths. This isn't just line items in the budget. There are people's lives, the sacrifice of human dignity and of life itself. And for what? So that your billionaire friends can get nearly $300,000 in tax cuts? So we can expand tax breaks for corporations, hedge funds, and wealthy heirs?
It's always the same tired narrative of, quote, lining the pockets of the rich, with Ilhan and her socialist allies in Congress. She conveniently ignored the fact that the spending bill added work requirements, which alone would cut a lot of waste. It shifted part of the entitlement burden back to the states, and more importantly, made the 2017 tax cuts permanent. Another point is, she was accusing the right of pretending to care about fighting waste, fraud, and abuse, which is a point Brandon Gill focused on during his response. So, let's hear what he had to say.
I'm thrilled about this piece of legislation as it's getting started. This reconciliation bill, I believe, will balance. It will extend the Trump tax cuts for the working class so that they don't experience the biggest tax increase in American history, and it'll grow the economy. And of course, it will help us implement DOGE, which this amendment targets, among other things. As DOGE has been rolled out, I think it's been a bit curious because I found that so many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have not been upset about the waste, fraud, and abuse that this process has uncovered. Rather, they've been angry that the fraud has been exposed at all. We found that for decades, the administrative state has been weaponized against the American people. We can give example after example of flagrant abuses of American taxpayer dollars.
Exactly. And here's the funny part. We didn't see these kinds of meltdowns from the left when Obama pushed reforms similar to DOGE. In fact, Democrats were cheering him on. Go back a little further, to the Clinton years specifically, and you'll find another round of reform efforts, once again supported by the left. So in less than a decade, Democrats went from branding themselves as the party of reform to fighting tooth and nail against anyone actually trying to fix things. It's a complete reversal, and it exposes how much of this is about politics. You don't have to just take my word for it. Here's Ilhan Omar herself, rallying people against Elon during an anti-DOGE protest.
We are currently living through a president who wants to be a dictator. In America, we do not accept dictators and we do not accept kings. We have a billionaire who has bought a seat next to the president, using him as a puppet. American democracy has never been for sale, and it won't be today. We are seeing a cowardice. Congressional Republicans that are utilizing the chaos our fascist president is creating to cut Medicaid, Social Security, and take away our rights. Because here is the thing. No matter who you are, Elon Musk and Donald Trump and corrupt congressional Republicans are coming for you.
See, this is the kind of rhetoric that led to the rise in political violence, by the way. And what's worse is that Ilhan has only doubled down on it. But that's beside the point in this video. What I'm trying to say is this. About 99.99% of what she yaps in her clip turned out to be false. Elon, quote, controlling the president. Nonsense. Buying a seat in the table. Please. Painting everyone on the right as if they're lurking boogeymen. Flat out wrong. And what stands out the most is that she didn't offer anything of value. We heard zero arguments for why Doge's operations were flawed or why its focus should shift elsewhere. Instead, it was recycled talking points we've heard 1,000 times from our party. On the other hand, Bannon Gill brought receipts, laying down exactly how Doge uncovered taxpayer dollars being wasted. But before we play that, we have a quick message for you. Now, why is your managed retirement account still using strategies that haven't changed in over 5 decades? Most IRAs, 401ks, and TSPs are still using the default 60-40 strategy because it benefits corporations, not you. If you have over $100,000 in retirement savings, get instant access to a free 2-minute report from Augusta Precious Metals that reveals how to take control of your financial future in one step. Visit freedomforgold.com. That's freedomforgold.com or text freedom to 35052 today. Now, back to the video.
$1 million spent to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa through the State Department. Over $7,000 for a BIPOC speaker series in Canada through the State Department. I think it's worth noting that normal, sane Americans don't know what BIPOC means, and neither do I. $80,000 for an LGBTQ community center in Slovakia, and over $16,000 for a united and equal queer feminist discourse in Albanian society, whatever that is. And of course, we also know that our taxpayer dollars have been going to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund left-wing media outlets like NPR and PBS, paying for welfare for illegal aliens, and paying for giving out payments to international organizations that are censoring and pushing for the censorship of American citizens.
Those numbers might look small on paper, but when you stack them together, you're talking about billions of taxpayer dollars down the drain. And what's worse is that so much of it isn't even spent in ways that benefit the American taxpayers, not even in terms of boosting soft power abroad. It's just waste, plain and simple. That's why Ilhan's spin on the budget cuts becomes downright laughable. She frames them as some kind of attack on the vulnerable, but in reality, they're about trimming fat and stopping the government from meddling in areas where it has no business being.
Our own federal government is using taxpayer dollars to promote ideologies that tens of millions of Americans find utterly repulsive. I think if the other side of the aisle has such a deep ideological opposition to this Doge process, I challenge them to be straightforward with the American people and explain why taxpayer dollars should be funding queer feminist discourse in Albanian society or drag shows in Ecuador. I don't think that they will, but I would love to see it if they did.
Now, to be fair, Elon did overpromise on Doge, saying he'll save $2 trillion in wasteful spending, only to end up cutting $206 billion so far. But the fact remains that he also faced major backlash to the point where his company was being firebombed. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, keep on thinking.